Good morning. Can you all hear me? I'd like to welcome you all today to the Fairfield City Council Candidate Forum. I am going to be the host for this, coordinator for this event, and my name is Rami Muth, and I am an active member of the League of Women Voters of Solano County. Our co-host or our co-sponsor for this event is the Delta Sigma Theta Society. The League of Women Voters is an organization of women and men that is nonpartisan, community-based, and organized at both the local, state, and national levels. Its mission is to promote political responsibility through the informed and active participation of citizens. And the goal here tonight is to give you an opportunity to share your goals, your vision, and your aspiration for the citizens of Fairfield. The League of Women Voters of Solano County does not support nor oppose any political party or candidate. The purpose of the candidate forum is to allow you to have the voters to have an opportunity to hear you discuss issues face to face, to stimulate public interest in the campaign, and to provide the candidates an opportunity to actually engage with your constituents. In that way, this is being live streamed on YouTube, and there's a chat function that allows people in the audience to be able to participate. And I'd like to take a moment to thank them for joining us and thank them for giving their input during this process. Now, Delta Sigma Theta is a society who's co-sponsoring this event. They're a private, not-for-profit organization whose purpose is to provide assistance and support through established programs in local communities throughout the world. Since its founding at Howard University in 1913, more than 300,000 predominantly Black college-educated women have joined this organization in chapters throughout the United States and the world. The sorority's basic tenets are scholarship, public service, and sisterhood. Today, we have 2 candidates from District 2 and 3 candidates from District 4 who will be participating in this event. All of these candidates have verified their attendance and that they have agreed to all of the rules for participation. Additionally, there are 2 candidates in District 5 and 1 candidate in District 6 who will not be participating today. If a candidate is running unopposed, they are not eligible by league rules to participate. If only one of 2 candidates is unable or unwilling to participate, then the remaining candidate is also unable to participate. And this is referred to in the league guidelines as the empty chair rules. And that applies to the candidates in District 5. I would like to tell you the format and the rules for participation. The event is a forum and not a debate. The difference in a forum is that the candidates will be asked the exact same question. Candidates respond to the question, but not to each other. We ask the candidates not to even refer to one another, but rather to focus on what they plan to bring to the position as a city council member. There will be no follow-up questions. There will be a timer, and candidates will be given 2 minutes for their opening and closing statements and 90 seconds to answer the question. This candidate forum is being held as a Zoom meeting and additionally being live stream broadcast on YouTube. It is also being recorded. If you are on YouTube like right now, thank you for joining us, and please feel free to put your questions or the chat manager in the chat box. Questions submitted during the forum will be screened and sorted for appropriateness, relevance, and redundancy. Similar questions may be consolidated. Questions of a personal or an inflammatory nature will be discarded. These questions, as time permits, will be forwarded to the moderator of the event, Janice Adams. You should be aware, if you're on YouTube watching this, that the candidates cannot see you or your comments. You may also use this box to provide us feedback on the forum. Your feedback will help us grow and improve this process. The views expressed this evening are of the candidates and are not reflected by the views of the League of Women Voters. This recording of the forum will be posted tomorrow on the League of Women Voters website, and you will see and will also be available on the YouTube channel. That information is posted on the slides that you will be seeing. No portion of this recording may be used to promote one candidate or oppose another in any way. Additionally, no portion of this forum may be used to imply that the League of Women Voters is endorsing one candidate over another. If the recording of the forum is used, it must be used in its entirety. Now let's get started. A virtual event of this kind takes a lot of planning and a lot of people that are behind the scenes. I'd like to thank Niles Metters, who is the president of the League of Women Voters, Solano County, Julie Hartford, who is the vice president, Anita Haynes, who has was the co-coordinator for this event, Sandy Corey, Danielle Kreider, Craig Patterson, Gail Vaughn, Sarah Chapman, who is today here and is our timer, LaTanya Harris, our chat manager, and of course, Janice Adams is our moderator. Devonna Finley will be serving as the timekeeper today, and she will be assisting. I'd like to introduce our moderator, Janice Adams. Janice is a Benicia resident, former superintendent of schools of Benicia, and an active member of the League of Women Voters. She has been gracious enough to be our moderator today with no formal training and very little notice. She will begin by introducing the candidates who are participating and will explain the process that we'll use for timing and the questionings for YouTube. We want to wish you all the very best, and we will begin in just a moment.
Good afternoon and welcome. Thank you for participating. It's my pleasure to be your moderator today for today's event. I'd like to start with introducing the candidates who are running from District 2, Mr. Raymond Kortemach and Mr. Scott Tonneson. Welcome. And from District 4, we have our candidates are Cam Holzendorf, Delon Jackson, and Rick Vaccaro. Thank you all, gentlemen, for your willingness to participate today. We will be rotating the order in which the candidates speak. In this way, each candidate will have at least one opportunity to go first and one opportunity to go last. There is a box on the left side of each slide identifying the speaking order for each question. Candidates will have 2 minutes for your opening statements and 2 minutes for your closing statement. 90 seconds are allotted for each question. A green box will appear, indicating when half the time has elapsed, and an orange box will appear when 10 seconds are left. We ask candidates to please adhere to the time limits. If we have additional questions from the audience, our chat manager, LaTanya Harris, will forward the questions to me so they can be included in the discussion. I will read the questions verbally and announce the order the candidates will speak. The green card will be displayed to indicate a 45-second warning, and the orange card will alert you that you have 10 seconds left. We will begin with opening statements, and Ray Kortemach will be our first speaker. Mr. Kortemach. Okay.
Great, thank you, Janice. I appreciate that. Thank you for laying out the format. Thank you, League of Women Voters, and also the co-sponsor Delta Sigma for your leadership and support for the forum. And again, for 100 years of advocating for a democracy where every person matters. Just value the mission, the vision, and the values of the organization, and that it is actually both inclusive of men and female. So that's again, I appreciate that. You know, my position is simply this: my desire is to bring common sense counsel to the great city of Fairfield. I've convinced my wife some 30 years ago to spend the rest of her life with me, and we've made our home here in Fairfield with 3 children. Our son, Matt Garcia, was actually the youngest elected city official in Northern California in 2007. We lost him in 2008. I've led my family and the city through that tragedy, continue to want to bring value and to live out his intended purposes as being an unelected city official in Northern California. We have 2 daughters, both Brianna and T-Ray, with a grandson. And we make our home here in the great city of Fairfield. Again, my platform is simply supporting small businesses, helping to end youth homelessness, and to raise up succession leaders to continue to lead the great city of Fairfield in the future for this world that we live in. I believe that everything rises and falls on leadership, and I'm excited about what the potential of being able to bring value and influence to help the great city of Fairfield be better. And that's really my platform, Raymond Kortemach, for a better Fairfield. And I look forward to the discussion here today and your consideration for my vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Mr. Scott Tonneson. I think you're muted, Mr. Tonneson.
All I'm seeing on the screen is the opening statements.
Okay, you're good to go now. Go ahead.
Thank you, League of Women Voters, for putting on this forum, and thanks to everyone who's watching. My name is Scott Tonneson, and I was born and raised in Fairfield, delivered on Empire Street by Dr. Valeriot, who oddly enough I saw at Mary's Pizza the other day. But I'm running for the district. I've been involved with city politics for the last 12 to 14 years. I spent 8 years on the Fairfield Planning Commission, 3 years as the chairman and 2 years as the vice chairman. I've been in a lot of meetings where you're making decisions based on what's best for Fairfield. I served as the president of the Main Street Association. They put on the downtown events, the Tomato Festival, and all of the parades. I was the vice chairman of the Community Block Grant Development Committee, and I've served as an honorary commander for Travis Air Force Base. I've been working towards this position for the last 14 years. I have the relationships built with the current council and the city staff. I'm ready to hit the ground running from day one, and I would appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Mr. Cam Holzendorf.
Can I say, all I'm seeing is the opening statements minutes. Is there a different view that I should be seeing?
The candidates are on the side. Do you see yourself on the side?
No, I'll figure it out.
Are you on Zoom or YouTube? He's muted.
I'm on Zoom.
So in the upper right, you should put speaker view. If you put it on speaker view, you should see the speakers. I see myself talking right now. Other candidates doing okay with this? You can see yourselves? Okay. I'm sorry, I'm not sure how to help you, Mr. Tonneson. All right. Next, we have Cam Holzendorf. Mr. Holzendorf, where are you? There you are.
Here, greetings and beyond Renew, and thank you for the invitation for this amazing forum that we're in. I thank everybody that's involved. I do want to go ahead and give the chance to say that it was California Indian Day, and I want to give respect to the land that we are on today. But about me, from a young age, I had to learn a lot about life, expectations, and the importance of community. From a struggle with the speech impediment that I overcame through speech therapy, and the love of many FSUSD teachers. From suffering a spinal column injury at my first homecoming football game and getting reintegrated in school with a metal neck brace, but with the love and support of my community. I was taught the importance of being in a community and playing a significant role. All my life, I have spent a great deal of time doing my various parts and capacities and positions for the community. From holding positions as student body president, serving in community and city cleanup days, and down to serving as a lifeguard for the City of Fairfield. It has been different lessons of selfless service to people. It is safe to say that I'm no stranger to serving, neither am I an alien to leadership. However, serving on city council is a new challenge. But for me, I see a bigger opportunity once again to give back to the community. Our community deserves to be made a priority, and the person who best represents this, one who has spent his life working and investing in the community. 20 years of my life were spent in the community, which helped shape my values, skills, and career. Looking back now, I see every experience of the past as a stepping stone to something bigger. And serving in the council is a fair culmination of all the lessons I have garnered from all the community figures in serving the community selflessly. Fairfield is the foundation of me, and what I'm doing now is a product of what you taught me, what you loved on me, and what you did for me in the past, community figures. as a leader, a leader prioritizes the welfare of the people, and those are the values I represent. My aspirations for leadership does not come from the desire to be a leader. No, it comes from a deep-seated passion for a community that made me who I am today. Like I said earlier, I am simply honored for this opportunity, and it is a great duty to give back to my community.
Thank you. I'm sorry, excuse me.
Is it my time? I'm
I
sorry.
think
Okay.
that was your time, yes.
Okay,
I'm sorry, if you wanted to finish your thought, go ahead, I'm sorry. Okay.
we will be building a unified community where everyone has a voice and is accepted. Everybody's identity must be recognized and validated.
Thank you so much. I'm sorry that I interrupted you. Next, we have Mr. DeLon Jackson.
Hello there. Hi, my name is Solano Jackson. I was born and raised in Richmond, California. My family came out here in the 70s. My uncle, he's been here since 1970. My mother came out here in 1990. I decided to stay in Richmond because I worked in Richmond. I worked for Richmond Police Department for 23 years. As an officer there, I was a crime scene investigator, detective. I worked with the chaplain program, the SEPTEP specialist, did all those areas in those fields. But being a part of Fairfield has been a home to me because my family been out here. So when I decided that when it's time for me to retire, I decided to come back to Fairfield to stay. This is where I want to be, and this is where I'm going to be the rest of my life, right here in Fairfield. So the reason that I'm running is because I want to let you know the things that I've done in Richmond, the communities that I've served, I want to serve it right here in Fairfield itself. Being raised by a single mom, it was tough, it was hard for me, especially raised up in Richmond. But through the love of others and the understanding of knowing, I went on to school. We got an MBA in finance. I also went to law school for 1 year, so that was a blessing itself. So now I'm coming back to this community and serve and do the best that I can to be a servant for you. And I just want to thank you. And also, just to let you know, I want to thank the League of Voters as well as Delta. I myself is a Phi Beta Sigma.
Thank you very much. Okay. And next we have Mr. Rick Vaccaro.
Thank you. I want to thank the League of Women Voters, Solano and Delta Sigma Theta also for putting on this forum. I think it's a great opportunity. You know, I've been living in Fairfield for 30 years. My wife was born and raised in Fairfield. We raised our 2 kids in Fairfield. We decided to move back to Fairfield because, as I always said, diversity is the strength of this city. And I wanted to raise my kids somewhere where I knew that they would be treated equally. I also, I was the principal at Armio High School back in 2000s, early 2000s. Before that, I was a community school teacher in the court school system, also taught at Fairfield High. And after Armio High School, I had the great opportunity of being the director of the court and community schools for Solano County for 10 years. And I can tell you that experience alone for me, not only did it connect me more to the community, but it also connected me so much to the young people that were in trouble, our at-risk youth, our incarcerated youth that I still keep in touch with these days. A lot of the young people that I worked with. I always say also that I've been on the council 12 years. That wasn't something that I actually aspired to. It was, I feel like I was chosen. Because of Matt Garcia, the tragic death of Matt Garcia. So my thing is, I look at being on the council simply as this: it's public service. It's public service, and it's not a political issue with me. It's just trying to help the city and trying to help the city grow. And I know we're going to talk about our issues, so I'm not going to go into any details on that because I'm sure when we answer the questions, it'll encompass all of that. So thank you once again for this opportunity. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. All right, and next we'll start with our first question. What are the top 3 issues facing the city of Fairfield? We'll start with Mr. Tonneson.
Okay, thank you. My top 3 issues for Fairfield and for District 2. What's good for District 2 is going to be good for Fairfield as a whole. But homelessness, community policing, and economic development. With the homelessness is quite frankly out of control right now. People are camping where kids should be playing. It's hurting small businesses, but the The homeless definitely deserve compassion. I lost a very close friend on the streets, and I don't want to see that happen again. The services are available. The county already has services that exist that can help the homeless. The second thing is embracing community policing. We need real-time crime centers, something that I'll address as my campaign goes on. But we need to have the funding and the tools that give the officers the time they need to keep us safe. Third is economic development, or in this particular case, it's probably going to be economic recovery. Starting with the Heart of Fairfield plan, we need to keep the small businesses healthy and attract solid jobs to the business parks and to cleaning up the empty lots downtown. Those are my top 3 priorities for District 2, and that's where I stand on that.
Thank you very much. Mr. Holzendorf, same question.
So my platform is all on the community. So I think the first thing is how we are investing in our community. So bringing up our community empowerment, talking about how we start with our foundation, how we are supporting the children, and what we are doing to tackle the houseless situation. And the reason why I say houseless is because the city has failed to provide opportunities to have homes. And that's why we say, hey, this is houseless, because now the city is their home. So looking at child support, we need to go ahead and find opportunities so we can get our kids ready for the next brave, bold endeavor, whether it is working with 21st century jobs or making an immediate impact in college. So focusing on more on the youth, that will go ahead and make our neighborhood safe and healthy, and providing families more businesses to set root in the city. Our community empowerment, how we're reinvesting in our community, deepening our communal bonds. In this world, we're living in with a world where our community relations are severely lacking. If we invest in our communities, providing events that showcase the fabrics of what makes us beautiful, services and tools that strengthen our community social relations, we will be unified and be ready to go forward. In the houseless crisis, the pandemic has highlighted how the city needs to step up with new innovations like safe sleeping parking lots, established campgrounds, and workforce crews so the houseless can feel invested in the community. Giving them basic amenities like bathrooms, laundry services, and health service. We cannot progress until we start treating our bottom line like our wealthiness.
Thank you very much. Next, we'll hear from Mr. Jackson. You're muted, Mr. Jackson. We can't hear you.
I think the top priorities for me would be dealing with a couple of things. Be fire. We're looking at business, police relationship, homelessness, and affordable living. I think that if you can just put down 2 things, it will be 1, neighborhood councils. I think that if we can form neighborhood councils within our whole districts and stuff, then we can deal with the relationship with the police, we can deal with homeless areas, we can deal with the fire and the quality of life itself, with the air pollution, quality of air. I think another thing is economic growth. We need to form an economic growth team where they will deal with the business and affordable living. So my whole priority is forming a neighborhood council, forming an economic growth team that will deal with those issues itself. Now the community itself will be involved, instead of us just trying to make our own assumptions of what's going on. We're talking to the people, we're asking them, what do you want us to do to get these things done? And by forming those 2 entities, I think it will work for our community because it's worked for other communities, and we do that a lot in Richmond. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we'll hear from Mr. Vaccaro.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I think the first issue to me is pretty obvious in the city, and that's dealing with our homeless situation. I actually spent a day down in Southern California at a navigation center that it was a regional approach that they have to dealing with the homeless situation. Out of 100 beds, they had 98 beds filled. Our Shelter Inc. Shelter Solano out on Beck now has about, I want to say 40 empty beds. Unacceptable, totally unacceptable. My thing is, listen, every bed needs to be filled. And our navigation centers, I'm looking at something regional, not only in, maybe Fairfield, also connecting with other cities, but let's concentrate on Fairfield, of course, right? Another issue for me would be with COVID-19, all of our small businesses have taken such a major hit, and our people have taken a major hit. I think that is something that the city has to look at, see what type of grants, what type of funding we could possibly give to help some of these small businesses downtown and in other areas. The last issue for me, which is always close to my heart, is community relations. And that includes relationships with the police, relationships with our young people. I worked with a lot of young people that were very afraid of the police. And I had to work really hard to make that connection, being a director of the court schools. I think, forming some type of a committee that can connect some of our young people who are in trouble or could be in trouble, to the police and to other community leaders, that's what we need to do. We need to concentrate because they are our future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And lastly, we'll have Mr. Cordemanche.
Yes, thank you for the question. What are the top 3 issues facing the city of Fairfield? And I think it's evident that it's about appropriate leadership. I think the city of Fairfield needs leadership to be able to address the systemic issues that we are all facing, especially in the year 2020, how the circumstances that we find ourselves in increase the awareness of our core issues. And I think it's, my position is everything rises and falls on leadership. And if you don't have the appropriate leadership in the heart of the city of Fairfield, you're going to have this this thing circulating again and again and again, and that is homelessness. And again, the city is not charged with addressing, providing direct services, but the city has taken a charge in reference to that with, their HIT team and their resources that they've directed towards helping address this homelessness issues. But clearly, the provider that is helping to serve our city is not relative, or doesn't have the capacity to address the relativeness of the complexity of the homeless that are in our community. So the 3 issues for me is supporting small businesses. But again, we're not going to be able to support small businesses if we don't address the elephant in the room, if you will, the elephant in the city, and that's addressing our homelessness. And my primary focus is actually addressing youth homelessness, because again, if you address the youth homelessness as that being a former homeless youth in the city of Fairfield, as a 16, 17 year old man, I understand the complexities of that. And the last issue is leadership, succession leader, raising up leaders to forge the future and sustain the work that is in front of us. So thank you very much,
Mr. Cordemanche. I appreciate it. Thank you. Okay. The next question. COVID-19 financial impacts are going to be with us for many years. The city of Fairfield could be facing a budget shortfall due to decreased sales tax revenue. What is your plan to address this critical issue? And we'll start with Mr. Holzendorf.
COVID-19, and again, Cam Holzendorf running for District 4 Fairfield. I think COVID-19 has affected a lot of businesses, hardworking individuals in our city that have totally invested their life, their sweat, perseverance in our community. We need to find ways to go ahead and look to serve them. So what are we doing? Can we go ahead and look at how we are taxing them and go ahead and look at trying to lower the taxes and go ahead and find ways that we can go ahead and guarantee checks for the hard workers that are pushing and building that business up as well. Looking at ways that we can come together with leaders that in the business realm, the Chamber of Commerce, to go ahead and look at ways that we can get them the information about grants, like the CARES grant, any other grants that can go ahead and bolster them until they can go ahead and hold off there and persevere until we can go ahead and add to our funds in the city. Finding new ways that they can go ahead and serve the community. Maybe it's a Meals on Wheels type of thing. We already made good success about having outdoor eating, but that's not enough. We need to go ahead and find ways to keep on pumping them in this unconventional time. So what kind of unconventional out of the box ideas can we go ahead and apply? And that's what I'm looking to enable and implement as soon as I become city councilman.
Thank you very much. And next we'll hear from Mr. Jackson. Mr. Jackson, you're on mute. You'll have to start. Can you unmute? Okay.
So what we got to realize is this, is that we're still in a pandemic and we don't know when we're going to get out of it. The rainy season hasn't even started yet. So when we're talking about outside dining and stuff, that can change. People are not going to be standing in line in the rain for food. So we got to come up with something else besides what we have. Yes, there is money out there. Yes, there is grants that we've given the people in the business and stuff, but we have to go beyond that. I think one thing that we need to educate our businesses on, doing online services. working with the drive-through system, working on areas where it's to delivery food and stuff like that. And then go beyond that is by looking at how Kaiser do it. I mean, inside the buildings, we need to get some type of air filtration system going on. We need to do something that will attract the business people to the businesses, even in the time of the rainy seasons. So I think that, yes, we need to look for more money, look for more county to help us and to see with us. But at this moment, we got to realize that this is a pandemic and it's going to be here and we don't know when it's over, but we have to do everything we can to make sure that these businesses feel safe and secure and that we are part of that. So being as your counsel, but I'll be right on the front line with them, with the Chamber of Commerce and associations to make sure that that get done. And the only way we can do that is let them know and have confidence in what I'm doing and what our city is doing for them.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Mr. Vaccaro?
Yes, thank you. You know, I'm in touch with the Chamber of Commerce on a regular basis, and they are very aware of what's happening. As far as the city of Fairfield facing a budget shortfall, could be, no, it is going to happen. There's no doubt about it. We do have a reserve, and that reserve keeps going down. And I think that's due to, I mean, thank God for Measure P when it passed, because Measure P, the tax really helped us get out of certain situations. As far as we weren't, you know, we didn't have to do layoffs or anything else. But as far as that's concerned with the businesses and COVID-19, I think we have to, the city of Fairfield has to look at our budget too and see, you know, where we can maybe, if we have to cut anywhere, we're not going to cut our day-to-day workforce. We just can't do that. But we have to look at ways we can channel our money, some of our funds into our small businesses, and also funding like the CARES Act, which was mentioned earlier. We just have to really focus on the people whose small businesses are falling apart. Not only small businesses, but the people out there that are hurting, really have been hurting badly since March. So I think if I'm working on the budget, if I get reelected, I know one thing I'm going to be looking at very closely is where is that funding going? And if we do have to cut anywhere, it's definitely not going to be with the line people and the people that are out there every day working, such as some of our public works people who work so hard through the fires about a month ago. So anyway, that would be my thing. I would take a really close look at what we can do with the budget.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Next, Mr. Quartermanche.
Yes, thank you for the question. I think, again, you know, it's about leadership and listening to, you know, those businesses in the city of Fairfield. I mean, I think that's, we have to be at the table listening to their needs and what are their resources and what are their shortfalls. The city of Fairfield is projected to be in a deficit for the next 3 years. It's, and we get asked this question as, candidates for city government, what are you going to do to raise revenue for the city of Fairfield? Well, it has to be a community. We have to approach this thing together. I mean, if the city's saying we're going to be projecting a deficit for 3 years, what are we talking about? How are we approaching it? We look at property taxes, 24% of our revenue. I mean, and if you look at small businesses through downtown, they're not acclimated to becoming aware of any funding sources that can help them offset their costs. But as you work with the property owners and those businesses there and get them to collaborate with and looking at the big picture, maybe deferment in their payments, and their leases. I mean, you just have to be really consistently at the table with them. Again, my request would be to work with the city council, mayor, city manager to pursue any federal stimulus to come down to, aggressively. I even think hiring someone to pursue millions and millions of dollars that are going to be available to help deal with the impacts that our city is going to be able to have to address for the next few years ahead of us. So thank you for the question.
Thank you very much. And next we have Mr. Tonneson.
Thank you. Yes, COVID has had some major impacts. The city's reserves are kind of where I would go to with they've done very well. Last I heard, they had 34%. The city council had requested 20%. I think that we're going to have some additional funds. The auto mall is going to start taking off again. I think that that's going to be a good thing to bring in additional funds. but the cuts, I'm with Rick on that. I'm not going to cut the frontline people. If anything, you might not fill some positions that are available, but we're going to have to find creative and innovative ways to get through this. And again, reaching out to others that are sitting at other tables, getting ideas from the public and from other cities. Everybody's going to be addressing this, so definitely going to be looking at inventive ways to figure this out.
Thank you very much. Okay, our next question. I'm waiting for the slide to go forward. All right. The City of Fairfield and neighboring communities recently experienced a fire emergency. From your perspective, describe the aspects of the response that worked well and the areas in need of improvement. We'll start with Mr. Jackson.
First of all, I want to thank the fire department and the police and the CAL FIRE and all of those who assisted in the fire just recently we had. To me, they did an excellent job, a beautiful job. Some people were complaining about the traffic and stuff, but we got to realize that on I-80, they had to shut it down. So you had a lot of outsiders coming through our city and stuff. So that made it even more worse than what it is. I think that one of the things that we need to look at is a buffer zone. When I say a buffer zone is that when you're looking at a residence and the hills itself, we need to have some type of divider between there. So then when the fire do come down, it won't get close to those homes or nor touch those homes. Another thing we need to look at is kind of develop a water tank in our area for the fires, because we live into a zone where there's fires. It is what it is. Right now we have a fire, we smell the smoke. So we need to address those issues itself. And by doing that, we need to get together with not just the county and the fires and stuff and sit down with them. We need to come out with a plan that we can adjust to the city and the city will be satisfied with that. But as for the system itself, I think it was a beautiful system. It gave us awareness of what's going on. And it's nothing that they need to change. They can always improve, and that takes time to improve it. So once again, if we can just work together with the counties and stuff and the CAL FIRES and have that availability for them, I think that we'll continue to be successful in that.
Thank you very much. Next, Mr. Vaccaro.
Thank you. Well, first of all, yeah, I want to thank the fire, police, and public works. I think public works doesn't get enough credit sometimes. They're out there too, 18 hours a day sometimes, trying to direct traffic and trying to, stop people from coming into certain danger areas. But yeah, I think they all did a great job. I mean, they really did. No one is really totally ready for this, no matter what kind of plan you have. I mean, it's just, when a fire emergency comes in and you have to evacuate, I had to evacuate. You just have to do what you need to do. As far as the response, like I said, I think it went well. The areas where I would beef up a little bit would be the plan itself. I think that agencies could work a little bit better together in our city, and I could say regionally, but let's stick to Fairfield. Like I said, I think they all did a great job, but the plan could be a little bit more solid, more connected. I think as far as the evacuation centers, I know there were some issues there too, but I also think people did the best they could do. The people that led that fight over there. I mean, I was down at the command center a bunch of times over those couple of days, and I know those firefighters looked exhausted after a couple of days. I don't think they slept. And the people that worked in the evacuation centers, my hat's off to them. They did a great job. But I do think a more concise plan, we would be ready the next time this hits, and it is going to hit. It's just a matter of when. So, yeah.
Thank you very much. I'm timing it. I'm doing the 10 seconds. Okay. Thank you. I'm sorry. Excuse me. Next, we have Mr. Quartermach.
Yes, thank you, Janice. I appreciate that. Again, I echo, fire and safety. I appreciate their support along those lines. And I would also include the school district. Our Fairfield High was a location for a site to bring people, and so I had the privilege actually of being there when folks started coming, and just the staff there, the custodial staff was just so amenable to helping meet the needs of those that were arriving. I would expect, again, I seen for 30 minutes actually being at the Fairfield High School, the electricity went out, and we had buses and buses of Paradise Valley residents coming that needed care, an increased level of care that was beyond the heart and the capacity of their community. But we did our very best with animals and all their personal belongings. And so I would regress and say, I would actually look to any of our housing providers, especially our older elderly population, and what are their emergency plans. And it's absolutely paramount that they actually look at that and how they're going to approach that at a higher capacity. And then even as the city of Fairfield, again, we were not properly equipped to really address hundreds of elderly folks in the conditions that they were in at that particular location. So I really look forward to seeing the city of Fairfield improve those response.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And lastly, Mr. Holzendorf.
Thank you for the question. Again, Cam Holzendorf, running for City Council District 4. I think we have taken a reactionary approach to the fires. We know that the fires are coming. We know when fire season is. Now, how are we developing a plan before instead of having to make a plan then? Kind of like our evacuation centers. I was at the evacuation center at Fairfield High School. I also am an educator at Fairfield High School. So when there was time, the final bell rang, I knew I just opened up the evacuation center and I started working. I started passing out waters to people, old folk that came in from Paradise Valley, many buses, huge buses of people coming in, filing in, needing help, needing service, needed a leader to talk to. So I think the thing is we need to go ahead and look at, hey, how are we bringing leadership to the community? Because the community did do what they were supposed to do. They handled business. Even community activist groups went around to community shelters to go ahead and alert people about, hey, you know, this shelter is not open. This shelter is open. You guys have these amenities here. You guys don't have amenities there. I think we should go ahead and look at the way that we're educating and sharing our communication. We just started with Nixle in our city, and Nixle had its bugs and a few things. And I know that our public works, our firefighters, our police officers, they are working hard. And we forgot to include the city officials that had to sleep in their office as well, that they are working hard. We need someone solely on communication basis when national disasters do happen in the community. So people in the community can go ahead and act and not be reactionary and be precautionary by making a plan, getting set, knowing where the shelters are so they can go ahead and be comforted and have what they need to, you know, be safe. Thank you.
Thank you. And my apologies. I realize I went out of order, didn't I? So I left out Mr. Tonneson. I'm very sorry about that. Mr. Tonneson, will you take your turn here?
Yes. So again, heartfelt thanks to public safety and the fire and police and everybody that was involved with this. It was something that I don't think anybody expected. I think from this that we're certainly going to learn some things that from the professionals in that arena. And as a councilman, my first thing would be to sit down with people at the table that know how to address these issues and spend time with them and see what the best way to address this is, or what the best plan is to moving forward so that we're more prepared for this. I'm sure some very hard lessons were learned from this, and as a leader, I would be sitting down at the table and giving them anything that they needed from the city of Fairfield, any way that we could help. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Again, I'm sorry about that. All right, our next question. Racial equity in law enforcement has been raised as an area of concern. Do you feel this is an issue in Fairfield, and how should it be addressed? And we'll start with Mr. Vaccaro.
Okay, thank you. You know, there definitely is an equity issue throughout our country. Let's start by saying that. I mean, we've all seen what's been going on in different cities, the approach that, you know, some of the police have taken. I would say this about Fairfield. I do think we have a very good police department. I think one of the key things I think that needs to be done in Fairfield, I mentioned this in another answer, was that the community relations need to be better. I mean, we need, our police to get out there, and that comes from leadership in that department. So we need our police to get out there working with our young people, with our homeless people, and with our senior citizens. So people realize who they are and that they are trying to do the best job they can possibly do. As far as racial equity, I don't see it as a problem in Fairfield. Like I said, one of the reasons why I moved here, we moved back here, was because of the diversity in Fairfield and how everybody does treat everybody. But I do think it is a concern. Now, I am not for defunding the police, but I am for looking at reforms and see how we can maybe send police officers or non-police officers into nonviolent situations to address mental health issues and other situations. But as far as racial equity, I think we have a good police force. It can always get better, but I think that's going to start from leadership. So let's see how that goes over the next month. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Mr. Cordemonch.
Yes, thank you for the question. Yeah, again, I believe everything rises and falls on leadership. As I was sitting in front of the associations in police department, considering their endorsement of me, as a matter of fact, Frank, it was not that the city of Fairfield, because I believe we have a great city police department and association, and then that want to have conversation, but I'm the person to say, it's not about you having a bad apple. If someone is a murderer, then you're a murderer. And then I believe our association, and then there is a legal due process for that. Hence, I didn't get their endorsement, which is perfectly fine. I have to be the leader that calls things as they are. And I want to give kudos to the city manager for recently hiring an openly gay police chief. And I believe everything rises and falls on leadership. And I believe the diversity of that leadership and her role, although maybe complex and people may have issues with certain circumstances of her history, she is the leader that is taking the post for the city of Fairfield. And I've worked collectively with our city current interim police chief, along with our faith community in communication. Matter of fact, our faith community partners were part of the interview process with that candidate. So that person is integrated to really what our community is about. And I look forward to holding up her arms as she continues to lead the equity that we all need and it should expect in the great city of Fairfield.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Mr. Holzendorf.
Thank you for the question. Cam Holzendorf, running for City Council District 4. I think the theme of this is better representation. We need representation that encompasses the whole demographic of Fairfield. So what I'm saying is that we're in this time where we see a divide, and the attitude reflects the leadership. We need leaders that are going to represent their demographic. So how do we do this? We go ahead and institute programs in the recruiting process. So we look for culturally, racially different people so we can go ahead and have diverse presence in our communities. I also heard about, and I want to go ahead and chime on this point as well, talking about the police as well. They wear so many hats. I mean, me as an educator, I understand wearing a whole bunch of hats to go ahead and be stressed out in the end. We need to find ways that we can go ahead and implement awareness and cultural awareness, and implement that in their learning, in their serving when they are bringing up in as a police officer. So we give them a program inside so they can learn how to be culturally aware. They can learn how to work with a mental health specialist. Go ahead, institute NAMI in there so they can go work with psychological issues as well. And biggest thing is learning that, hey, we need leaderships that acknowledge that there is a problem with racial tensions. Even in Fairfield, we see this divide, and we need our leaders to step up and represent not just one portion, but the whole portion of the whole community.
Thank you very much. And I did it again, same thing. I'm so sorry, Mr. Thomason. I apologize twice in a row. This will be my last mistake, I promise. I'll be very careful. So please answer the question.
No problem. Yes, I like Mr. Vaccaro, I'm not in support of defunding the police, but possibly additional training, training with de-escalation, community policing. I think that this again is going to, I think all things lead back to leadership and again, getting all of the people at the table that are the decision makers. This is certainly a hot issue. and it'd be something then that we'd want to address with all of the people that are making these decisions. And that's my answer. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I want to make sure I get this right now, Mr. Jackson.
Yes, I think this is one of the topics that I know very well. Being a police officer of Richmond PD, also being, before I became a police officer, I was a part of the racial discrimination in which something happened to my sister. So as growing up, I never had that relationship with police, but as time went on, when I became a police, I understood the background of a police officer and everything. I think the biggest thing is this: I will never defund the police, no way. Just the outcome of what can happen if you defund the police in the community, the unrest that will happen, that's impossible. That will never happen with me. But I would say this: there's two things that I think that we need to look at. We need to bring in groups that can help them and teach them about racial profiling, culture, diversion, things in that area. So I would suggest that we bring in the NAACP to train them, to have a class where the NAACP can come in, or we can also have Divine Nine, which is Delta and all these type of groups that come in and teach them how about culture living and about society, racial profiling, and justice, and teach them just like the police department teaches the citizens about Citizens Academy, about the police department. So we can do a certain thing the same way. We can do it for a year, we can do it quarterly. I think another thing that we need to bring back is community policing. When I was a community police officer, I was in the community, walking around, going to places, talking to eating with families. I got to know the people and they got to know me, and they used to call me whenever they needed. So we need to revisit that.
Thank you very much. Okay, our next question. Adequate affordable housing, homelessness, and food insecurity are critical areas of need. How will you address these concerns? And we'll start with Mr. Quartermanche.
Yeah, thank you very much for the question. Something I'm extremely passionate about, and I'm appreciative of, just really how there's, this delay with not being able to evict people, the statutes, and these circumstances that are going on based on folks' revenue that or lack of revenue that's coming into people's homes. I think that's the California, the struggle, right? I mean, I think our cost of living, although I'm not wanting to be restrictive of people that have rentals, et cetera, along those lines, but there does need to be adequate housing for those that are economically challenged or fall into an economic category that isn't relative to these $500,000 homes and above, if you will. District 2, I mean, clearly we have a huge homelessness issue, have had it for a very long time. I think so my approach to this is actually, as I talk about ending youth homelessness, which youth homelessness is kind of like the pipeline, just like the pipeline from jails to prison, youth homelessness to the sex trafficking world. I'm part of a anti-sex trafficking coalition through the Solano Family Justice Center, and we're actually going to build some tiny homes. And that's not city funded money, that's independent funding sources for the youth homeless in the city of Fairfield. So I have a personal approach to actually address that issue. And again, the thing of it is that if we're not addressing, City of Fairfield is pouring $4 million right now into Allenwood Park, this fiscal budget. If we're not addressing the houseless issue, as Cam makes reference to, those that are homeless and displaced in its complexity, it's just going to be this circular issue that we're dealing with. So I believe it's about, again, leadership, bringing appropriate leadership to be able to address the complexities of the homelessness and affordable housing in our city.
Thank you very much. Mr. Thomason.
Thank you. Affordable housing, the homelessness and food insecurity, there are plenty of places for the homeless to stay. There are many beds at Bay North that are being serviced right now for COVID, and critical food issues. If you live in Fairfield, or if you're on the streets and you want to eat or you want to sleep somewhere, there are places to go. So we have the ability to house these people It's the ones that don't want to get off the streets, that choose to be homeless, that are affecting the bottom line. But for the affordable housing, there are a lot of programs for affordable housing that are coming down the line, and the Heart of Fairfield plan is going to help with that, with the high density res that'll be address that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Mr. Holzendorf.
Thank you for the question. Cam Hosendorf, running for Fairfield City Council District 4. People, I think it's time that we need to stop the insanity. That means we keep on doing the same thing and expecting a different result. Drop the insanity and let's reclaim our humanity here. We need to look at how we are serving our people in our Fairfield and communities such as the houseless community. Again, this is their home. Fairfield is their home, and that's why we call them houseless. What are we doing to better serve them? Are we giving them opportunities to be a part of the community, investing, giving them working with them so they can have on-the-job training so they can go ahead and impact our city's economy? Are we helping them at their very basic necessities, giving them a safe place, especially for our youth? And I'm looking at now nutritional health. How are we going to get them that food so they can go ahead? Right now, we're in a time where students are in e-learning and most of their food comes from the school. And right now they can't do that. And right now we are having FSUSD schools as locations where students can go ahead and get food and have it for the whole entire week. And it's not just any type of food, it's nutritional food, and allowing people to understand the education about what their food is. Parents, houseless, everybody are struggling right now because we have not made Fairfield attractive so people can say, hey, you know, I want to reside here. Affordable housing is trying to find ways that we can go ahead and get rid of these multi-generational houses. There's many people that have multi-generational houses, from your kids coming back from college and you're still living with your parents. We need to look at places like Habitat for Humanity and so for Solano Affordable Housing Foundation so we can get affordable options for all our residents.
Thank you. Thank you. Next, we have Mr. Jackson.
I mean, this is a serious topic for me because I myself growing up was homeless. So I know exactly what it's like to be homeless and not having, especially my mom being a single parent, going from place to place, sleeping in cars and stuff. We have a good program already here. We got a homeless engagement team, and the police department is doing a great job. I would love to see them have more people to work with the homeless, but we got to realize there's 4 types of homeless people. And we know that we have means for the mentally ill. We have things for the substance abuse, as well as those of unemployment. We have housing and everything else. But the issue that we must address is, like he said, the ones that want to be out there, the ones that don't want the assistance, don't want the help, and that's where they're at. We have to address that in a better issue, because one thing I noticed that on Airplace Parkway, they're right on the side shoulders. Cars can come by and they can get hit big time. So we need to do a zone, buffer zone, and having signage to indicate, hey, you can't be here, you can't be there. Another thing is we need to develop a 24-hour soup kitchen for those who don't have. And they can be able to go at nighttime, kids, whatever, to get food, to get something to eat. They can stay there for 24 hours if we don't have extra beds, because there are extra beds out there. But if we don't have it at that moment, they have somewhere to get food 24 hours. So we need to develop soup kitchens for them. And I think that will really help our going forward with our homelessness.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Mr. Vaccaro.
Thank you. So affordable housing, you know, I've been the person on the city council that has really been pushing to get some kind of timeline on this, on our Heart of Fairfield plan. Our people have been coming back to us for the last 2 years saying, we're going to do this. And finally, they came back with a timeline, which, you know, maybe I pushed them a little bit too hard, but that's fine, because we need that. We need affordable housing in the city. You know, generational poverty exists in our city, okay? And, you know, a lot of the kids I worked with were stuck in the generational poverty over, I don't know how many different generations, which another candidate alluded to. You know, and this is something that we have to deal with, and that connects right to affordable housing. As far as the homelessness issue and food insecurity, I mentioned before about the navigation center, how people can go there. They get a bed, they have a bed, a bed to sleep in, they have food, and they can also go out and work and come back at a certain time. And there's limits, of course, to what time they can be back by. But this is like real life. If they could have a shelter like that, which is more than a shelter, it's a center, it's a home in itself, but it also gives them the opportunity to go out and get their own home at some point because of the training that they receive there. I mentioned this before, we need to do a regional look, take a really hard look at this. So my plan is to continue to research these centers and within the next couple of months, bring back a plan, say, hey, this is what we need to build. And it wouldn't take that much, I can tell you that. But in affordable housing, just to end it, we just got to keep pushing for it. I know there's plans down the road. I just don't want to see them get stuck because of the budget situation. We have to change that. We will.
Thank you, Mr. Vaccaro. Okay. Our next question. What actions will you take to bring diverse communities, socioeconomically, culturally, racially, and politically, together to create greater cohesiveness and inclusivity? We'll start with Mr. Tonneson.
Thank you. Bringing the communities together is going to be the best thing to do. The social, economic, culturally, racial, and politically together. We're going to have to just have everybody come together, and that's my answer. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Holzendorf.
Thank you for your question. I'm Cam Holzendorf, running for Fairfield City Council District 4. I think this time it's imperative that we look to strengthen our communal bonds. It is not acceptable that people don't even know who their neighbors are nowadays. So what we need to do is looking at ways that we can go ahead and bring our community to the forefront, knowing that they are represented, showing that, hey, that you can be Black, white, other colors, whatever, LGBT plus, Q plus, whatever, you are represented and you are a factor of what makes our quilt of Fairfield so beautiful and magnificent. So we need leadership that goes ahead and states that as well. Whether you're on one side or another, you need to go ahead and let us know, hey, I believe this, and let's go ahead, even though you feel that way, let's bring us together either way for better days in our city there. And what that looks like is getting programs that go ahead and show the cultures for what they are. Let's have a pride parade. Let's have an African-American parade. Let's have a Pacific Asian Islander event where we all see these cultures and what makes them so beautiful. So people understand what we have in our city. Instead of just saying, yeah, we have people in the city that invest and live here. We want to showcase you. We want to go ahead and say your humanity is what is the essence of this community. If we don't look at that, we will lose everything. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Jackson.
I think the biggest thing is what I said earlier, neighborhood councils. We have neighborhood watches, but if we bring forth neighborhood councils, now you're bringing groups from both districts, all the districts together to talk about issues and their concerns about what's happening in their community. Because what one community is doing, another community might not be doing that. So now they're blending together and they're coming together. And when you're talking about having events together, that's what happened at. Because they can come a unified group that say, hey, we're having this over here in District 4, come on over. So District 5 and 6 and everybody know what's happening. I think neighborhood councils are the key to our success, for us to unify ourselves as one unit, as a family, as a Fairfield family, because we're a diverse community. And yes, we can do a lot together by knowing things, what's happening together. So I will always push for neighborhood councils, making sure that we hear the voice of the people, about the people, and for the people. That's my.
Thank you very much.
And this is live. I mean,
how many people are watching this?
11 were watching last night.
So
I think if maybe we could mute if it's not your turn. Mr. Vaccaro?
Okay, thank you. I'm going to bring up, well, first of all, I mentioned earlier that diversity is a strength of our city. When I was principal at Armio, it was really interesting because I always said Armio was like the microcosm of California. If you looked at the breakdown ethnically, racially of Armio, it was like, wow. Then I go to Golden Hills and Juvenile Hall, and guess what? 80% of the people, of the young people incarcerated there are kids of color. Now, there's the issue right there. Okay, what's happening, in our justice system right now? Okay, so we have the opportunity in this city right now to blend everybody together. We can do that, but we do have to get some type of committee. I mentioned this, we have the budget committee, but I said we should even expand that committee to let's do community relations, because we need community relations now more than we ever have needed it. Because look what's going on throughout the country. Look what's going on in Solano County. We see it every day. I'll tell you one last thing. When I was principal at H. Glenn Richardson, we had a parent group that came in, 4 parents. And I said, where are all the parents? Well, there's 45 parents who are going to come in the next meeting, because that was for English language learners. So you know what I did? We combined both. And all of a sudden we had a big group, and it was a diverse group. That's the kind of thing we need to do more of in our city. Let's include everybody.
Thank you very much. And I let your time go over because we cut you short in the beginning. So thank you. That's what happened there.
Oh, sorry.
Mr. Portemanche, where are you? There you are. All right, let's see if we can get this timing straight. All
Beautiful.
right.
Thank you, Dennis. Yeah. So again, that's really my role in life and society. My personal mission statement is to facilitate behavioral change from self to purpose, right? Collective purpose. Matt said, we're not 4 separate cities. We're one city. But guess what? We are divided. And, I can respect the characteristics of community policing, but the heart of that is just community engagement. That police officers are part of our culture. They're part of our community. I was sitting on an interview the other night, and it was asked if I would advocate for, flying the, LGBTQ plus flag. I'm like, absolutely. Why not? Look, our community is representative of tremendous diversity. Again, friends know me personally as Brother Raymond. And what that means is I'm a brother to humanity. I've collaborated with every faith community, been to every Sikh, every temple. I've worked with every evangelical, every different people of different faith. It's not about separatism. It's about bringing the community together. And that's, again, kudos to our leadership, city manager, for hiring our current incoming police chief. I believe that's just representative of really what the great city of Fairfield is going to have in the future.
Thank you very much. And our next question. Considering extensive community needs and finite financial resources, please identify your top 3 budget priorities and explain how you will address the unfunded pension obligation. And we will start with Mr. Holzendorf.
Well, again, looking at investing in our community, I'm looking at ways that we can go ahead and better our community. So how is that? Looking at how we're addressing our environment, looking at services that we can go ahead and provide to enhance our humans in our community. Looking at ways that we can better help and get transportation for our golden age folk out there that are doing amazing out there. Speaking with people that are in charge with the pension fund and seeing how we can go ahead and secure those bonds so they can go ahead and be secure in their life. Because that's the hard work that they've done over years and years of being in that city. So how can we go ahead and go about and talking with the leadership in that situation to go ahead and let them recognize that this is their hard work and they need to go ahead and be able to be appreciated on that such. Looking at our budget, looking at the bottom line, our parks, our environment, our public works, just in the single digits. We need that to go ahead and bolster so we can go ahead and grow. Those are the key factors right there on the bottom that we're taking away. We're taking away so much from the people that makes our community grow and putting in so much to the things that keep our community safe in a sense, which is okay, but we need to go ahead and enhance the people and their life status in our community.
Thank you very much. Mr. Jackson.
So looking at the top 3 budget priorities I look at is one is Measure P, which I think is a big thing that helps our community out and gives us what we need. The people voted on that. That's what they wanted. So by them wanting that, that's something that we definitely need to make sure that that's still in place. Another thing we need to look at is the cannabis, which is a big thing, a budget, and that will help us out in the future in the things that we need in that area. I think that the third thing is businesses. We definitely need to make sure that they're up and running and that they get the things they need so we can strive and base best. By having these three, that will address the unfunded pension. A big elephant in the room, which sometimes we just keep on passing it by, but it's there. It's going to always be there. And that's when we have to get with the unions and stuff like that and try to work things out and see what we can do to build that gap and finish and try to meet the needs of the unfunded. We got cannabis. If that cannabis goes and we pass and everything, we can use some of that funds to help with our unfunded pensions. So we need to look at everything we can to get ourselves out of this, because sooner or later, we're going to have to address that unfunded pension. And sooner or later, if we don't, we're going to be in a situation where we are going to be looking at our employees and saying, hey, I'm sorry, but we're going to have to do this and we're going to have to do that. So let's deal with the issue now and not later.
Thank you very much. Mr. Vaccaro?
Okay, thank you. Yeah, my budget priorities, I'm going to start, okay, the budget in the city of Fairfield, job retention. In 2008, we had to cut most everyone's salary, okay, by 10%, and also lay off people in 2008. People were living barely paycheck to paycheck. People were taking 2 jobs. We have to find a way to keep the status quo right now with a lot of our workers in the city, because they don't want to go through, we don't want to go through what they went through 12 years ago. It was a very tough time for everybody in the city. Small business too. I mean, you know, we have to find a way to assist our small businesses, you know, somehow through our budget. I know that we've been talking about different ways, you know, in some of our meetings, and that has to move forward. And then our seniors and our young people, the programs we have for our seniors, they can't go away. They have to stay. Those are programs that we cannot cut. Our programs for our young people, the PAL Center, other areas, we have to not only not cut it, we probably have to add more. And I've always said this, some kids don't feel comfortable going to the PAL Center. So let's do something else. Let's create something else. Let's look at the Boys and Girls Club. Let's look at other areas where some of our young people are not necessarily stigmatized by going there. And that's what we need. As far as the unfunded pension obligation, we've made some changes to the pension for some of the people just starting now. It definitely needs to be worked on more, but I'll tell you one thing, we are in much better shape than the city of Vacaville. If you look at their unfunded pension obligation, it's pretty bad right now, but this is something that's not going to go away.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Mr. Quartermanch, I want to make sure I get this right now. Okay, yes. Next, Mr. Quartermanch.
Yes, absolutely. So thank you for the question. You know, again, just looking at, you know, again, Measure P, we've lost just looking at the resource binder that was provided to each candidate. You know, we lost approximately $5.7 million, you know, compared to the original 2-year projected budget. Our personnel costs are 72% of our expenditures for the city of Fairfield. In fact, after the election, those elected city officials will enter into, not us really, but our organization, the City of Fairfield, will enter into negotiation with our highest budget line items, fire and police, right? So these are these issues that we have to look at and have, just like every, you know, association came together in 2008, we anticipate that happen again as we're into a COVID-19 2020. So I believe as we continue to bring people together and have comprehensive conversation that our community can advance. But again, just looking at the, you know, these unfunded pension obligations, they're just there. So we need to really sit down and look at how we're addressing them now, and then how we're going to really approach them, not just for the future, but for the future generations that will come on board linked to those pension obligations. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Tonneson?
Thank you. Yes, we're going to have to make some hard decisions if needed, but certainly job retention is going to be one of the things that we need to do. Better paying jobs, more economic development. It's going to bring more job opportunities. The top 3 would certainly be efficiency of the police and fire services, and programs for the youth and small business job creation. Any of the economic development will help increase our tax base. That's what I would be looking for. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. And the next question is, what is your vision for growth for the city of Fairfield? And how do you plan to improve the economic vitality of the city? What factors need to be considered? And we'll start with Mr. Jackson on this one.
Good question. One thing that I'll look at is forming a economic growth team. This team will consist of the Chamber of Commerce associations. It also with the community development, housing, and finance. Their main job was is to improve the city. That's all they'll do, is to improve the city, maybe through technology, new business, existing businesses. They will go out and make sure that we can find the money for those businesses to highlight our community and see the diversity of it and the things that we have. They'll be able to work with Jelly Belly. They'll be able to work with Budweiser. They'll be able to work with all the businesses we have. We need a group that only focuses on the growth of our community and the areas that is important to us. And I think that if we have that in place, by doing that, we will make sure that we'll get new business in there. If you go down North Texas, we got a lot of empty space there. And I think if we can bring a team in, their focus is to put people into those spaces and to be able to strive and make our city, our community better than the rest of the community, be an example. So what I'll do is form that type of group or that team that go out and take care of that and look for money, lobby for money for us, that we may continue to go and grow in the city.
Thank you very much. Mr. Vaccaro? You're on mute, Mr. Vaccaro.
Yeah, this is a great question because our city has really struggled over the last, well, since 2008. And then, with Measure P, of course, that got everything sort of on track. But as far as growth, something we need to do, something I do on a regular basis is go out and talk to employers who want to come to our city. And we have to sell our city. That's the thing. If we don't sell who we are, the beauty of our city, the valley, other things that could really, that we could put within the city limits itself. That's what we need to do. We need to showcase who we are, showcase the people in the city, showcase the businesses. Somebody mentioned, Jelly Belly and Bud. Of course, there's so many other businesses in town, but the downtown plan, the Heart of Fairfield plan too, is going to be critical. And we have to reach out to people who want to come in, put their businesses downtown. Maybe some of the wineries need to come down and put tasting rooms in downtown Fairfield. Things like that would bring families, because there's families who are not happy going downtown right now. They need to be happy. They need to feel safe. By bringing good businesses downtown, that could solve some of the issues.
Thank you very much. Next, we'll hear from Mr. Quartermanche.
Thank you. Yeah, so the vision for the growth for the great city of Fairfield is just that our potential is beyond really our capacity. And I would say it's about leadership. I mean, we need an adequate and appropriate leadership really to help execute a vision for the great city of Fairfield, the heart of, of the city of Fairfield. That project and that projected, it's going to happen soon. It's going to happen soon. It's just, there's these lids and these barriers that continue to keep us from moving into increased economics for the great city of Fairfield. And it's about listening to the business owners, the people that own the property downtown. There's been conversation about one-way trafficking on some of the side streets that would generate additional parking locations and generate additional people where they want to walk down to the city of Fairfield. I mean, there's so many different restrictions, 4 o'clock to like 7 o'clock, you get all that traffic coming off of the freeway. We have to make provisions to really address how we not just manage the flow of people wanting to go there, traffic flow that's going down there, but also, businesses do not want to come to a city that does not have so we have really some systemic issues. We are, the county seat, we have the jail, we have all these, our direct services, accounting services. So we have to really look at those things from a comprehensive way. And I don't know that I can really address that fully in the 90 seconds that I have, but I'm committed to really making the city of Fairfield better.
Thank you very much. Mr. Tonneson?
Hi, and thank you. Yeah, I think this hit right to the heart of the Fairfield plan. Infill is coming. We need infill. We have way too many vacant lots downtown. And with the zoning changes from the heart of Fairfield plan, that's something that we can certainly go after new developers. And like Rick said, we can talk to people other businesses that want to come downtown. We do have too many vacancies right now. And I think that is going to probably increase with COVID. So back to my main point, infill is going to be the way to go, and we need to fill up these vacant lots and make it more vibrant and walking downtown. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Holzendorf?
Thank you for your question. Cam Hosendorf, running for Fairfield City Council District 4. I think it starts with educating people that are attracted on coming to Fairfield. How are we going to let them know that they will be secure with their businesses and their families? Because when you set root here, you set fully root in the community. So most of the time is we need to make sure we improve our businesses. So the employment, and it will improve the parents and having adequate childcare. So these businesses such as childcare, things for the children to do will help the parents feel at ease so they can go ahead and set root fully in that. And that also will enhance our neighborhoods, making it more safe. Looking at ways that we can go ahead and educate small businesses about the grants of starting a business. I know there's a lot of people out here trying to start a business, but they don't have the adequate education or the follow-up after they get the business to go ahead and know how to keep their business afloat. Also, filling up buildings. Right now, we have a vacant lot. We're getting a Dave and Buster's down by the mall, but even in surroundings in District 4, we have so many schools in that area. The PAL Center is pretty far out the way, and I do appreciate the PAL, but what else are we doing to give kids something to do productive? We have a lot of blocking areas that are empty. So how are we attracting people that, hey, we have the security for you to set up here. We have a lot of kids that go ahead and funnel in here. We have a lot of old people that use your business. And really hype up these businesses that are coming and listening to the concerns. The biggest thing is listening and being a part of the business as a leader. So going to the businesses, sitting down with them, eating their food, getting their products, and working with them and showcasing it on your accord because you're the leader and you set the standard.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Okay, our next question. I'm waiting for the next slide, or I could. Is there going to be a next? There we go. All right. What role could the city play in support of parents and local schools in light of the pandemic? And we'll start with Mr. Vaccaro.
Thank you. Yes, and a very important role is what it should be playing in support of parents, okay, and the local schools. I don't sit on the subcommittee right now for the city council and the schools. What I would like to see more of, though, and what I would say is we should have, I think, once a quarter, have a joint meeting of the city council and the school board. I think that's really necessary because the city definitely does need to play a big role. Right now, the kids, it's a struggle, and as one of our candidates knows, being a teacher in the school. I mean, right now with distance learning, I hear it from so many parents around town that, they don't feel good about it. They do feel good about it. For mostly, they feel like they do want to get back into the classroom. The city could provide a lot more as far as support, maybe, I don't know about financial support, but maybe, helping out the kids, maybe going to the homes, talking, maybe having parent forums about it. Right now with the pandemic, it's not going away. It's going to be here for a while, and everybody knows that. The city and our school district definitely needs to form we do have a good partnership, but we need even a stronger partnership. And I think that's something that I've been advocating for since 2008 when I got on the council. This is the city and the school should be intertwined all the time. And whatever help we can give to them, I think, that's something that I have to work with the city manager and also my colleagues on the city council. But having joint meetings, I think, would be critical because we could really do a lot.
Thank you very much. Mr. Quartermanche?
Yeah, again, it's about leadership and just continuing to bring the appropriate leadership and being at the table. One of the things that Matt did was he actually was able to bring the school board and the city council together because they play a vital role they complement each other. I think our education system, along with our parents, and especially in the complexities, again, of this pandemic, it's so vital that we're consistently having conversations with one another. Just like distant learning. I mean, many, I work primarily from, this virtual office that I have here. So a lot of incorporating virtual opportunities to do work virtually from your home. I think city approach that where it's plausible, it could be an option to have that just to as an alternative. But again, it's just really about consistently coming together, having those conversations, and how can we remove barriers and increase resources to really help, synergize the complexity of what we're dealing with in this COVID-19 pandemic. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Tonneson?
Thank you. Yes, I think that the pandemic is creating a lot of issues for a lot of people, but I think if we expand the after-school programs, make sure that there's meals for kids, support the Levin and the PAL, maybe have town hall meetings to invite parents and to tell us what they would like from the city council and how could we help. Again, it's communication. So that would be what I would propose.
Thank you. And Mr. Holzendorf?
Thank you for your question. Cam Holzendorf, running for Fairfield City Council District 4. I think it's, again, with leadership, action leadership. How can our officials be the voice and advocate for the parents and the children going through this pandemic right now? With my experience, I'm currently an educator. I teach at Fairfield High School, and I listen, and I'm a part of that e-classroom where I hear the parents in the background, the students are trying to work on their work, Wi-Fi cuts out. How are we providing for our students and helping our parents as well in the end? Are we working to solidify as leaders that community, that city and school bond, so we have close, concise information coming back from the city to the school district and streamlined information to the parents and the youth? Allowing them to go ahead and find ways that we can get them to the youth out and about, and socially distance them, okay? We don't have to lose our humanity. We just need to be smart right there. How could we go ahead and have someone do after school events where they just go to the track and walk around so the parents can go ahead and take a break and get to work in their house? In this pandemic, how we are delivering education. Are we giving the students ways and options and services to keep that internet connection strong so that they can get the information, so they can be a part of education, so they don't miss a step, so they can be ready after they graduate to be ready for that next brave and bold endeavor and be able to set foot and be ready and confident in the next step.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Jackson?
Well, this is a good question itself because prior to being a police officer, I worked 10 years in the school district of Richmond. So I dealt with kids a lot. Now, this is one of the subjects that came up. I think that, of course, that we know the school has a way of doing it and the city has a way of doing it. We definitely have to come together because those kids are in our city. So we have to be as one. I think a big thing is we have recreation centers right here. We have parks and recreation, we have PAL. We can use those facilities to give these kids food to eat because a lot of these kids go to school to eat because they can't eat at home. So we can revisit that by opening up the recreation centers and opening up the PAL area and have them come and pick up food. We have IT here. We have media here. We can relate to the parents and other things about the virtual learning, how to work the computers, what they need to work on. We can do a joint effort by us as the school, city council, as well as the school districts that come together and do a joint effort in trying to make sure that our kids, because it's not their kids, it's our kids, it's all of our kids, that they have the best education to move forward and be example and to be example to our city. So those are the things that I'll look at as a city council, and those are the things that I will push forward with my other city council members. You mute.
Sorry about that. Okay, now it's time for audience questions. We have several questions that have been posed. Given our time constraints, we want to make sure that you all have 2 minutes for your closing statements. We'll only have time for one of those questions, and I'll read that to you in a minute. But we also will forward the questions to you as candidates, and you will have the opportunity to respond to those questions. And they'll be posted on our website. Thank you. Okay. We'll post the questions and the answers on the website. Thank you. All right, so I'm going to read the next question. And given the racial disparities, how will you work with Fairfield community and partner with school district to ensure that all members in the community feel welcome? If you'd like, I could repeat that for you, but we're going to start with Mr. Quartermanche.
Yeah, could you, Janice, please, just if you wouldn't mind one more time?
It was new to me, so I hadn't read it through.
Of course.
Given the racial disparities, how will you work with the Fairfield community and partner with school district to ensure that all members in the community feel welcome?
Yeah, and again, that's just, almost like what you say, real estate, real estate, real estate. I say leadership, leadership, and leadership. And that's really the message. And the school district does have a communication leader that is just engaged with this community. In fact, I know him personally. And that's really the message, continuing to, even in this, COVID-19 pandemic that we're in, you can create community engagement. Today, we had our community service day. I communicate with youth. We bring youth down to the great city of Fairfield and do a community service day, interacting with the complexities of the issues that they're dealing with school, with this virtual learning and all these things that are going on. So again, it's just consistently being engaged, not just at like attending the city council meetings or attending the school district meetings, but it being engaged with them at the levels that are relative, that directly impact us on a daily basis. So really, it's just about continuing the communication with our community members in the city of Fairfield. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Tonneson, do you have the question or do you want me to repeat it?
Could you repeat it, please?
Yes. Given the racial disparities, how will you work with the Fairfield community and partner with the school district to ensure that all members in the community feel welcome?
Thank you. Yes, I think kind of piggybacking my last answer is bringing people together, having town halls, communication throughout, maybe circulate letters through emails through the city's website to bring people together and have meetings at the school districts or at the gymnasiums whenever those open up again. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Holzendorf.
Thank you for your question, Cam Holzendorf, running for Fairfield City Council District 4. I think there's a lot of racial disparities, especially in our education. We need to go ahead and first focus on healing with the relationship between law enforcement and the community. So looking at ways that they can be the community engagement officers, also called my CEOs, so they can be on the foot and really interacting and giving a visual pipeline to show that all cops are not bad people. We might have the one out of a few, but I mean, in the sense, we just need to make sure that the kids can see that, hey, the cops are here to help you, also be a mentor. We also need to look at ways that we can advocate as a leader. You need to advocate that, hey, we look at the education system and what they're learning, it is one-sided. We need to open up those educational manuals and expand it to what everybody's history is. So talking about LGBT plus rights, talking about African-American history, talking about Asian Pacific history, all the history needs to be included. Also working with programs, Delta Sigma, working with religious services, working with community people in the commerce realm, getting financial literacy so the kids know how to work with a checkbook, getting programs so they can go ahead and go after and learn about manners and life skills, looking at programs such as events that go ahead and talk about the cultures and what makes them beautiful as people. If we don't know where we started for, we are aimlessly walking in the dark, people. Let's put a light to what humanity is.
Thank you very much. Mr. Jackson.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Yes. Given the racial disparities, how will you work with the Fairfield community and partner with school district to ensure that all members in the community feel welcome?
I think that one of the biggest things is this, that yeah, we have school resource officers that's in the school, but that's just one-sided. We need to be the council, the leaders need to show their face. We need to be out there in the community, talking to the people. We need to join partnership with the superintendents of schools. When they have their meetings, we should be on the sideline, or we should be out there letting them see that we're here to support you as well as the community. We need to have more dialogue in that area. A lot of the kids and people that come into the community feel distance. If you go through the whole city itself, you can see the distance of different areas and different groups. We as city council should be able to move in every district and be able to sit down with anybody at any given time. We can't just depend on our employees. We can't just depend on the police. We can't just depend on the fire. But we as leaders who must walk by example should get out there, work with the community, and then we should have a party, a group of chambers. When new people come into the community, we find out, we should send a letter or something out to them saying, welcome to the city of Fairfield. Glad to have you. We need to invest our time in our community, because guess what? Without our community, we're not gonna go nowhere. We need them to shop at our shops. We need them to buy our products. So we need to make sure that we invested into them, the community as a whole. That's why I like neighborhood councils. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. I think we are now moving into the closing statements, which you have 2 minutes.
I didn't make a statement yet. I didn't answer the question.
Mr. Vaccaro, how come? I'm so sorry.
That's all right.
Thanks for speaking up.
Yeah, that's okay.
My mind is always moving ahead. I apologize.
That's okay. I can answer the question. I think it all comes down to training. I'll be honest with you. You know, I taught a class in equity and diversity in a classroom for 2 years at Toro in Vallejo. And, you know, I think every teacher, okay, not only teachers, but also employees of our city need to be trained in cultural awareness. I mean, right now, when I was principal at Armio, I was shocked at some of the teachers that had been there for a long time that had no idea. You know, I remember a teacher coming up to me and saying, that kid needs to be suspended because he was yelling in class. No, he wasn't yelling in class. That is his inside voice. That's how he speaks at home. I'm not suspending that kid, period. Okay, that's the issue. There's not enough cultural awareness going on within the schools or within the city itself. I think the key really is, especially in our schools, and I know it's starting to happen, especially with our young teachers. You know, they come in much more culturally aware and wanting to help. Unfortunately, there's some people that have taught for a while that don't want to accept that. So I think that it starts in the schools where the racial disparity ends. That's where it should end, in the schools. And I think then that will branch out into the community. But those where our young people are going. And I think also within our city, there needs to be training also. There's some people that work in the city that need to be aware of what's going on and the diverse community we live in and how everyone needs to be treated. So it goes back to training in my mind.
Thank you very much. And nobody else that I left out, I hope? No. Good. Okay. So now we will go to the closing statements, and you have 2 minutes each. I want to make sure that during your 2 minutes, would you please let the constituents know how they can reach you if they wanted additional information? So could you provide that during your 2 minutes? All right. And the first person to do their closing statement, and I am going to hold you to the 2 minutes so that we can make sure to be done on time. So Mr. Vaccaro.
Sure, I'll start out. I'll start out with how you can reach me. You can reach me. My email is capital R, capital V, ACCARO, Vaccaro, the number 135 @gmail.com. Don't ask me what 135 stands for because I have no idea. Okay, but that's how you can reach me. My closing statement would be, you know, as I mentioned before, I was appointed in 2008. This was not a position that I actually ran for, but I grew into this position. And I felt that I did just because of my experience in education and working with the kids, working with the parents. I mentioned earlier, I was very involved with a lot of the gang kids in our town and, you know, still do talk to a lot of them. I felt that that was a good training ground for me once I got on city council, because as everybody knows, being a principal of a high school is sort of like being a mayor of a little city. You have all your little areas. So that really was good training ground for me. As far as why I want to run again, it's because there's a lot of things I still want to do. Homelessness is an issue that I still, you know, I mentioned my trip, you know, down south and wanting to start our navigation centers. That's one thing. Another thing is working with our seniors and our youth. I mentioned that. I will always, no matter where I am and what I'm at, if I'm not in a position or whatever, I will always be dedicated to the youth of this city. That's a special passion for me, and it always will be. And with COVID-19 and the economic strife we're going through, that's another thing I'm very anxious to continue to tackle. And you know, when this is over, we're still going to have so much more to do. So I'm really looking forward to that. And I just have a tremendous amount of respect for the people of Fairfield. Like I said, I'm a transplanted Californian. I was born and raised in New York, moved out here about 39 years ago, moved to Fairfield because of its strength, diversity, and like I said, raised my kids here, and now I see my grandkids are about to go to school here. So our family extends beyond my immediate family back into the schools. But
Thank you,
that's
Mr.
it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Jackson.
Solano Jackson, Fairfield, running for City Council in Fairfield District 4. You can reach me by solanojackson@yahoo.com. Simple. If you want to get me, I'm willing, and I'm listening to you, and I'll definitely get back with you. The reason that I'm running is this. Being born, like I said, raised in Richmond, seen a lot and heard a lot. Coming out here and knowing that my family been out here since the 70s and stuff, I really love this city because it's so diverse. Everybody's working together. And it was amazing for me being born and raised in Richmond, coming to Fairfield was like night and day. It was just totally different to me. It was a shock to see the things that I saw out here. And that's why I wanted to be a part of this city. That's why I wanted to give back in this city. I've done a lot with kids, youth. I've done foster care conferences. I worked on Bay Area Stop Hating with Nick Cannon. I've been around all over the United States dealing with injustice and everything, even as a police officer, the vice president of the NAACP in the Richmond branch. So I know how it is to dealing with community and working with people in the community. I want to do the same thing right here. All I need is to say, give me 4 years. And in 4 years I can't do it, I'm gone. Because that's all I feel, that if I promise you something, I got to deliver. And that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to be a voice for you. I'm going to be heard. I'm not a politician, nowhere near a politician, but I am a statesman. So let's work together. Vote on me. I guarantee I won't let you down. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Holzendorf.
Thank you. Cam Holzendorf, running for Fairfield City Council, District 4. People. A leader prioritizes the welfare of the people and those values. My experience as an educator has provided me the avenue to learn about working with various kinds of people, learning about teamwork, and learning about acceptability. And I have been able to utilize this period and experience to score some significant achievements. And it is why I can thus count myself as a robust team player, a go-getter, a change-oriented person who will not stop until I see change and I seek to come in this place. For those who feel they are being undervalued, for those who think they don't have a strength or the platform for their voices to voice out their pains, I am here. I have submitted myself willingly to be the shoulder to carry the burdens and fight on till our individual voices are heard. We are a family, and with family, no one gets left out. So please lean on me as we continue to preach our harmonious plea for togetherness and unity. People, Fairfield, it is time to drop the insanity and reclaim our humanity. Our bond of unity must be strengthened along with the ties of our respective peculiarities. Everyone must enjoy the freedom of rights that they deserve, and I shall not, I can't stop, I won't stop until I see these rights exercised. I am Cam Holzendorf. You guys can reach out to me at Cam4, like the District 4, citycouncil@gmail.com, also www.camholzendorf.com. People, let's keep on campaigning for change out there.
Thank you very much. Mr. Tonneson.
Thank you. Yes, we talk about leadership a lot, and I've been headed down this road now for about 14 years, planning to get a position on the city council. As I've mentioned, I served 8 years on the planning commission, 3 as the chairman, president of the Fairfield Main Street Association for 7 years. I've served on numerous boards and committees. I'm endorsed by Senator Bill Dodd, Supervisor Aaron Hannigan, Supervisor Sparing, Supervisor Matchburn, Sheriff Farrar, Councilman Vaccaro, and Councilman Tim. I've put in the hard time. I'm ready to hit the ground running, and I can do what it takes to get this job done. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And lastly, Mr. Quartermache, please.
Great, thank you, Janice. I'm going to read a little card that I've mailed out to everyone. It's just my commitment to you and all the residents of the great city of Fairfield is just that. I will continue to work hard for you and our great city. As a father of 3 children, as a family that lost a loved one murdered, an elected city official murdered in the great city of Fairfield, we've been able to work through the trauma, not just personally as a family, but as a city. And with my bride of 30 years and as a small business owner, I know what commitment means and what it requires of a leader. As your elected city councilman, I will invest these same leadership characteristics to make Fairfield better. I will always listen to your concerns and give you my best daily. I am a servant leader and my actions speak louder than words. I know everything rises and falls on leadership. In these uncertain times, I am the best leader for District 2 that will continue to complement the great city of Fairfield. And you can reach me at raymondforabetterfairfield.com, and I'm available to address and answer any additional questions offline. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And I want to take this opportunity to thank all of the candidates for your thoughtful comments. It was really an excellent forum. The audience has a far better understanding of your goals and aspirations that you have for the city of Fairfield. We hope that you found this to be an informative event. And I'd like to turn it over now to our coordinator, Rami Muth.
Thank you, Janice.
I want to say that the citizenry of Fairfield is very fortunate that we have folks like each of you who are willing to step forward in this very courageous way and bring change in a positive way to the city. You addressed some very important issues. The chat room was filled with additional questions, several that we were not able to answer. So we will be forwarding those to you to give you the opportunity to respond to those that we were not able to incorporate into today's forum. On behalf of the League of Women Voters and Delta Sigma Theta sorority, I'd like to thank each of you for taking the time to be here today. And again, I encourage you to reach out and to allow other folks to continue to gather additional information about your views so that they can be informed before they vote. We know that running for office is difficult. And I admire anyone who's willing to serve in this important capacity. The views that were expressed today by the candidates are theirs alone and do not reflect the views of the League of Women Voters. The recording of this forum will be available on the League of Women Voters of Solano County YouTube channel. You can see the link there on this page. The rights belong exclusively to the League. They cannot be used in any way without prior consent, and they must be used in their entirety. We felt strongly that we did not want a pandemic to prevent the voters from being able to reach the candidates who are going to have a deep impact on the lives they live. So this virtual event was our attempt to try to do that. It's complicated, it's messy. There were a few little glitches along the way, but by and large, I want to say thank you to each of you for your patience and your perseverance while we went through that, through those glitches, and also to the audience who stuck with us from the very beginning. We have a little following and hope that many more will be able to watch the recording. Behind the scenes today, we had many folks that made this happen. Niles Metterer, who is the president of the League of Women Voters. We had Julie Hartford, the vice president, Anita Haynes, co-coordinator for today's event, Sandy Corey, Danielle Kreider, Craig Patterson, Gail Vaughn, Sarah Chapman, Devonna Finley, Latanya Harris, who is our chat manager. Not an easy task, I might add, trying to curate the questions and be able to help provide those to the candidates, which we will do by tomorrow. And of course, to Janice Adams, our wonderful moderator, who did such a good job helping us go through this process in a very seamless way. We welcome your feedback. If those of you in the audience, and in fact, those candidates would like to provide feedback, you may do so in the chat room. You can also email the League of Women Voters. Again, the information is available here on that slide. This information will help us improve the aspects of the forum and help us know what worked well and where we can improve. I'd like to leave you today with someone who had a profound impact on my thinking and in the lives of so many, the words of John Lewis. John Lewis tells us that the vote is the most powerful nonviolent tool we have to create a more perfect union. I want to remind you that Tuesday, November 3rd is Election Day, and regardless of your choice, please exercise that right. It is a right and a responsibility that we have as citizens and deeply impacts our world. So with that, we'll close today. And again, thank you so much for your efforts.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, candidates. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, viewers. Goodbye now.
How'd I get it? Step away.